The issue when we're talking about women and their bodies is there is another person in this mix. There's the life of the child. So that's what we're worried about. Whereas with gun rights, you're only talking about the rights of the person to own a gun to protect
But also
themselves.
the people who are getting shot at as well. Biden, he's renewed his calls on Congress to ban guns in America, especially that gun that was used to try and assassinate Trump on Saturday. What do you think about that? Do you think they should be banned?
The gun didn't try to assassinate
Amen.
Trump. I believe in Second Amendment rights, so I think it's foolish to blame a gun for something that a human did.
Right, guns don't
Amen.
kill people. It's people that kill people. And in this young man's case, maybe there was some mental illness. So maybe we should give more thought process into what's going on mentally in
our
people
nation.
that are right.
No, I don't think, we've got the Second Amendment. I think I'm totally supportive of the Second Amendment. I don't think that we should be banning guns. That's not the answer to our problems.
It's our right to carry guns. We're given that right by our Constitution. And if I need to defend my family, I feel that I need a gun to do so. And I don't think banning guns, it's not the gun that kills people, it's the person that pulls the trigger.
Back in the day in 1854, things were done in a much smaller scale. People were living on the frontier, having the right to protect your land and your property, your family, looked a lot different than it does today. And so I think it's really important to consider how things have changed and the danger that exists there. And I think last Saturday really showed us how having so much access to those types of guns can cause those kinds of issues.
We see that it's a leading cause of death in children and young people. Do you think that potentially trying to control guns more would be better?
Well, I think the issues we're seeing today have a lot to do with the mental health crisis that's going on that we're slowly waking up to. So I think we really need to work on addressing our mental health care in the US, and that will cause a lot of other problems to go away, part of which is gun violence.
I'm not sure if that's the leading cause of death. I just don't see that as being a major problem.
I do think that, you see that there needs to be caution, there needs to be steps that have to be gone through in order to safely secure a gun, just to protect people and to really care for our world.
The problem is that anybody's going to use a gun to do something that is unlawful or that is wrong. I don't know that a law is going to stop them. I think if they don't have that, then they're going to use something else. If they're of the nature, let's say, to kill somebody, they'll just use something else, I think.
What do you think about Trump and his policies would be good in helping to tackle that?
We think a lot of people are excited about supporting Trump for other reasons. I think the biggest one being the economy.
And I guess a big topic that you would consider to be polarized in the US is also about the pro-life, the pro-choice debate. How do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I think the fight will continue. It's something that has been a debate for so long, and it's an issue that divides us constantly. And I think the issue of healthcare and the rights, I think the Republican Party often is all about a personal right and freedom and liberty. And so it's an interesting topic to have such a debate over when it comes to having personal right over your body. And so the debate will go on no matter who sits in that seat, and it's something the nation will continue to grapple with for sure.
I think what we just did recently in overturning Roe was a great thing. I think there's been a lot of babies killed because people had the right to do so for any reason. I think they need to do a little bit more on controlling their own selves. I think we're going in the right direction.
We should leave it up to the state, state by state, and that is what President Trump wants to do. We're not banning anything nationwide. Leave it up to we, the people. Right. Roe v. Wade should never have happened because it was always a state issue, not a federal issue. And personally, my grandmother was raped, which produced my mom, and my mom produced me. And if my mom had not been born, then the world would not have the beauty of me. So
You know, we spent a really long time working to overturn Roe, and now we've gotten to that point. We need to work to make our country truly pro-life, not just banning abortions, not just restricting, but making it so that abortions aren't necessary. We need to increase the quality of life, decrease the cost of living. There are a lot of people who want to have families right now, but aren't because they can't afford it. The cost of childcare is more expensive in a number of cities throughout the US than the cost of housing is. How could you possibly have a child and take care of that child during the day when you're at work trying to pay for their childcare and their housing in your own home, your roof over your head?
But like you just said then, you know, there's potentially women who had the economic stability, the right, they were in the right place, right time to have that child. There's probably a lot of women who don't have that luxury. Shouldn't they be able to have that choice whether they could have a child or not?
I think that's a really broad question. And so obviously every woman should have the right to choose when they have a child and when they don't, but there are ways to go about that that don't involve abortion.
But some might call you up on the hypocrisy of not wanting to have more restrictions on guns, but to have restrictions on women's bodies.
I don't know that the restrictions, we just shouldn't allow abortions. I mean, you know, they're just because you get pregnant and don't want a child doesn't give us a right to end the life of that child.
Well, I think those are two totally different subjects. I don't see the correlation between the two because the issue when we're talking about women and their bodies is there is another person in this mix. There's the life of the child. So that's what we're worried about. Whereas with gun rights, you're only talking about the rights of the person to own a gun to protect
But also
themselves.
the people who are getting shot at as well.
Well, it's already against the law to shoot people unless it's in self-defense or something. So it's already illegal to commit a homicide or commit a murder. You can't do that. So that's already illegal.
They do have a choice.
You get to go to the polls and you vote.
Right.
It's
They
the
do
same
have a
issue.
choice. And after all, this is America where you still have rights. You still have those freedoms. So if they want
As long
to
as we
abort
take
their
that seat.
right, if they want to abort their child, that's their right to do so.
So you think it should be nationwide then?
Well, I think we nationwide need to embrace a culture of being pro-life. Like I said before, I think we need to worry about the cost of living so that people can have kids, the cost of childcare so that they can take care of their children while they're at work. The maternal mortality rate is really high in the US for a developed nation. We need to work on that. So there's a lot of things, paid maternity leave. There are a lot of things that we need to work on to address the culture of life that don't just have to do with abortion, and that's where the conversation needs to move to.
I guess it's hard to imagine something like that happening. You know, we've definitely advanced so far in allowing people to follow their convictions, and so I think that there will be a place for people who are really are convicted about the sanctity of every embryo and every conception, and I think there will be a place for people who have the different conviction. And so I hope that there will be a way to find a way to express those convictions without making a choice for one another.